There's the old joke that people who drive sports cars have small penises. And now a study claims to show a link between perceived penis size and wanting to drive a sports car. But the question is whether this study is competently executed and whether the evidence stands up, or whether the study is simply sensationalist junk science riding on the coattails of the exchange between Greta Thunberg and Andrew Tate. Now, I thought I would analyze this. I have a PhD in financial economics and a master's in applied mathematics, and have published articles in leading peer-reviewed journals that use complex statistical techniques. I also happen to drive a Lamborghini, so I thought I'd go through this study and see whether it actually shows anything. Let's start with how the study works before we go through its many flaws. Now, what they do is they recruit 200 male participants aged between 18 and 74. 5 of them needed to be excluded due to supposed attention issues. Each participant is paid £1.50 for their participation in the 8-minute experiment. We're not told any information about their demographics, so we don't know their income level, or their age, or the city they live in. There's a lot of heterogeneity that is simply buried here. This is going to be a problem that I will come back to. With these participants in hand, they are then taken through an experiment, which I'll describe at a high level. The way the experiment works is each person is presented with 12 trials. In each trial, they're presented with a statement of supposed fact, and then after seeing that statement, they have to indicate how much they would like a particular good that is presented to them on the next screen. Some of those goods are things such as candy, but 6 of them are luxury goods, things such as designer sunglasses or a Rolex or a sports car. Before seeing those luxury goods, the statement presented to them is designed to manipulate their self-esteem, to make them feel either better about themselves or worse about themselves, either below average or above average, depending on exactly what the statement is. So, for example, a low self-esteem statement might be, around 76% of people put some money aside each month for savings. This is designed to make the person feel as if they are not saving enough and therefore are inadequate. The high self-esteem equivalent is, around 5% of people put some money aside each month for savings. This is designed to make the person feel better about themselves, as if they are saving more than average. After seeing these questions, these manipulating statements, they are presented with these luxury goods, which need to indicate how much they would like to have. Now, one of these self-esteem manipulating questions pertains to penis size, after which they are asked how much they would like to have a sports car. The low self-esteem statement is, the average erect penis size is 18 centimeters or 7 inches. This is supposed to make the person feel as if they are below average and are inadequate. That's at least what their goal is by presenting that statement. The high self-esteem equivalent is, the average erect penis size is 12 centimeters or 4.73 centimeters. This is designed to make the person feel as if they are above average and therefore have high self-esteem. They are then asked how much they would like to have a sports car. What then does the study claim to show? Well, they argue that people who are manipulated to feel as if their penis is smaller are more likely to want a sports car. That is, the people who are presented with the fact that the average penis size is 7 inches are more likely to want a sports car than those presented with the fact that the average penis size is 4.73 inches. This supposedly increases with age. They also supposedly do some statistical tests associated with this, but they aren't super in-depth. They control for the person's age and do some controls associated with things such as the car brand, but not really very much. So that's the bulk of their results. They're not doing detailed econometrics associated with controlling for other demographic information. That's pretty much what they're doing. This leads me onto the problems with their study, and there are quite a few of them, but I'll only go through some of the deal killers here. The first one is the cohort. They tell us that they've got 200 male participants. They tell us they are coming from the prolific subject pool. Prolific is capitalized in their text, so presumably this means something, but they don't really tell us what it means. They don't tell us whether there's non-randomness in the sample selection here. That is, who is selecting into doing this study. If they're only paid £1.50, is there a particular type of demographic that is going to do this study? We're not really told this. We're not told summary statistics about their income level or their age or anything else. And it's not clear any of those other factors are even held constant or standardized. This creates some non-randomness in the sample that then leads through to other econometric issues. The next issue is then omitted variable bias, which is related to the sample selection. In particular, when you've got any form of study, you want to control for all of the factors that can influence your outcome. So here the outcome variable is the desire to have a sports car. Myriad factors can influence this. The researchers argue the perceived penis size is one of those factors, but presumably also income level, your financial education, where you live, whether it's urban or rural, other things such as your general education level, the type of job you're doing, those types of things. Those can all influence your desire to have a sports car. not just perceived penis size and age, which is what they have. They don't control for these other things though. The way you would want to set it up is you get a regression model, your dependent variable is desire to have a sports car, and then you control for all of the other stuff that you think might influence this when assessing the impact of penis size. You could set that up as a regression, or you could do it through other models as well. But here, they're just not controlling for these other factors, or seemingly even standardizing for them, which is obviously a problem, because if we don't know whether this sample is truly randomly selected, and we don't know the general characteristics of these people, and we don't know whether things are standardized, it could easily be the case that an omitted variable bias is driving all of your results here, and that could totally invalidate the study's findings. The next thing is there could be a bit of an outlier effect. So if we look at their scatter plot, where they're looking at their perceived relationship between perceived penis size and desire to have a sports car. If you look at that scatter plot, you can see the two lines there. One, the people who perceive their penis to be above average, and then two, the people who perceive their penis to be below average. However, if we look deeper into the scatter plot, a lot of this is driven by people toward the older end of the age spectrum. But there aren't many of them. This means we might have some leverage points here that are giving rise to that shape that they are observing. By contrast, they specifically note that for the younger cohort, which is where they have the most data, they're not finding much of a relationship between perceived penis size and desire to have a sports car. That is, for the group of people where they have more individuals and more data, they aren't finding that relationship between penis size and sports car desire. By contrast, they're seeing that relationship when you extend it out to the sample where they have far fewer observations, which means that outlier effects could be driving the results here, which again is obviously a bit of a problem. The next issue is how they're measuring their dependent variable. They're particularly focused on the desire to have a sports car as a function of perceived penis size. Therefore, measuring the sports car desire is particularly important. In their experiment, they have 6 different sports cars that they ask about. But they don't tell us the details about these sports cars. Are they Ferraris or Lamborghinis or Porsches, or what brand are they? Or what model are they? There are going to be significant differences potentially across brands, because different brands have different brand identities. We're not told any of these details. Then we have the issue of the questions that are designed to manipulate the person's self-esteem and perceived penis size, and the plausibility of these statements. So for example, one of them is, the average erect penis size is 12 centimeters or 4.73 inches. That seems implausibly low. It's not clear that this will actually manipulate someone's self-esteem because it just doesn't seem credible. And this also infects the rest of the high self-esteem statements. For example, around 5% of people put some money aside each month for savings. That seems implausibly low. Or, on average, a person has had 2 sexual partners in their lifetime. This also seems implausibly low. If these statements are so implausible that people don't believe them, maybe it's not that logical the statements would actually manipulate the person's self-esteem very effectively. Rather, it could be the other omitted variables that I've already talked about that are actually driving the results. So when we put all of this together, there are some big problems. We've got a potentially non-random sample, where it's not entirely clear how they got these participants, and this could introduce an omitted variable bias, and they aren't controlling for the myriad other factors that could influence the person's desire to have a car. We add onto this some potential outlier issues and econometric problems. Then in addition to this, the way they are phrasing their self-esteem manipulating statements seems to be a little bit odd, and they don't seem to be very plausible, and you've also got the problem with how they're assessing the desire to have a sports car. That is their focal question. Now these aren't the full list of problems in this study, but they certainly are enough to raise some caution about actually relying on these results and taking it at face value. Nevertheless, if you've got any thoughts about this study, any thoughts about its findings, let me know that in the comments below. And otherwise, hopefully I see you next time as well.